All right. Welcome to the first BCFS podcast. I'm your host, Charles Bolds, and this is my co-host, Daniel Winters, and today we have Taylor Dowling. Welcome, gentlemen, to the first podcast. Let's get some introductions out of the way. As you all know, my name is Charles Bolds. I am a software support analyst here at BCFS. I've been working here about 2.5 years now, but I've been working on computers for about 8 years, maybe a little bit longer. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Daniel.
Well, my name's Daniel Winters. I'm the Senior Systems Administrator here with BancCentral. I've been with the company for just about 2 years now. Been working on computers or at least messing around with them since a very young age. I was 5 or younger. Like, it's been
Completely
forever.
understand that. Yeah.
So, it's been a long time.
My name is Taylor Dowling. I work here for BCFS as the Network Operations Center Manager. I worked here for probably a little less than 5 years, I think. And before that, I really got into computers in college, but before that, mostly just video games and other things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, being as this is the first podcast, I figured we'd introduce ourselves, or as BCF as a whole, and tell you all what we do here for Alva and for Northwest Oklahoma.
It's a pretty broad spectrum of what we do.
Yes, it is.
And who we service. I think we've got clients in just about every vertical you can think of, from hospitals to retail to, we've got some co-ops, schools, churches.
Yep.
I think we've got a nursing home or two. I mean, I really don't know if there's a vertical we don't have our hands in to some extent, really.
You're not wrong. As you've said before, we provide a solution to just about anything we can think of for anything computer and networking wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we really do. We've got a pretty broad array of services that are offered to all of those clients. And, not all of our clients utilize every service we offer. And some of them take advantage of just about everything that we offer. So
you're not wrong.
One of the big services I know of that we take care of is CCTV.
Yes.
We do that for a lot of different clients. We just got a pretty big contract with a large multi-state retailer to do their CCTV work. We are doing that, and that's been a pretty ongoing project, moving from location to location, and we've done CCTV with a lot of different clients of ours.
Yeah, and hopefully in a later podcast, we will invite Brad Hadsdale. He's the one in charge of CCTV, and he can explain more of what he does and who he provides CCTV to.
Yeah, Brad's our CCTV manager here. Primarily, that's what he works on. He does some other work for us as well, but largely he does our CCTV work, and we'd love to have him on for sure.
Yeah, most definitely.
And I think CCT really paves the way for another service that we offer, which is access control, physical access control to buildings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Our access control system, we've utilized that here internally. We've utilized that at our sister bank. And we've got a pretty big manufacturer that we've done a lot of access control work for.
Yeah.
And you're just not getting through those doors without access control.
And then the convenience that if like an employee loses a key or something, you don't have to change the locks will save you money immensely right off the bat. So it's a very good service.
I can shamefully admit I've lost a few badges. So.
Oh, me too. And it's so nice to just be able to say, hey, call up our access control guys. Hey, I lost my badge, and within seconds that badge is deactivated. You can't get into the building. Nobody can impersonate me getting into the building. And within just a few minutes, I've got a new key to the building ready to get in.
Yeah, it's a wonderful system. I won't lie about that.
Definitely much better than keys. But if you are still using keys, we also do some locksmithing work, which is pretty cool. So we can replace the locks in your doors. We can cut new keys.
Yeah, I think we even do for dials and things like that for safes and things like that. We can unlock those.
Yeah, they've cracked a couple of safes from what I've heard. They've got a pretty cool little tool that lets them get into some safes, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
I was like, I think somebody was telling me a story about how we had somebody open a safe and there was a bunch of silver. And then she was disappointed that it wasn't gold.
I mean, wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, if I was putting a bunch of gold bars. But I think we need to talk about something that I think is a little more in our wheelhouse, which would be the IT services that we offer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, very much.
We've done a lot of work with network installs, server builds, server installs, network management, PC builds, just an extensive amount of work with that. We try to do everything we can to make sure the system is solid, running well, that the network's moving, that it's secure.
Yeah,
Security
just
is
through
huge
all
for
layers
us. Mm-hmm.
that we take care of our clients, because that is our number one priority.
Yes.
As part of that, we actually do all of our PC builds and server builds are custom.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles actually plays a pretty big role in that process.
Yes, I make sure a lot of our computer builds are mostly top of the line, up to date hardware and everything. I make sure that none of our hardware is, out of date in any way, because depending on where you work and everything, sometimes there's audits that are performed each year. And I know some auditors are very picky on certain things, and I like to just make sure everything's, up to date, everything works fine. And of course, everyone doesn't need the top of the line system either. Some people, they just need a business computer that will do like Word, Excel, and surf the internet and everything. And that is our primary build that we have at our sister bank, and what we have in-house also.
We just recently we did a new build that we updated it and put in some pretty new state-of-the-art technology in that with the M.2 that hasn't been around for very long, and probably top-tier storage technology.
M.2s have been out for, I believe maybe 3-4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
They're relatively new.
They're definitely just now starting to pick up mainstream support and be put into places, and I think we really jumped on that pretty quick and got them rolled out.
Correct. And previous supervisor before you, when he built his computer, he actually had probably built one of the first systems at our location with M.2s in them, without realizing that a newer version of it was coming out pretty much months after he built his computer. So
I heard that story.
I was pretty bummed about that, but it also makes our computer builds really small. We have a small form factor and everything, and we can mount them on the back of PCs or on the back of monitors, I should say.
Right.
And
You can almost not even see them.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
And the boot time is fantastic. That was one of probably the biggest things I noticed about it, was just how quickly I could hit from start, shut down, or start, restart, and go back to where I could log back into the PC in literally a matter of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that you can log in so fast, and they're such good PCs off the line, is one of the things when we custom build PCs is we don't add any bloatware or anything like that.
Yeah, which makes a huge difference. You don't have all of that extra software to manage the PC that's really not necessary.
Yeah. Unlike when you get a PC at a retail store somewhere, you will get all that junk and bloatware and everything. Our custom PCs in-house, and if we provide it to any other business, is that we install a blank operating system with, whatever software you need at that business. And that's all you have on there. So it'll be fast right out the gate.
Some of the fastest computers I've ever used, and I've been on a lot of different computers, and I've never dealt with something quite as snappy as the hardware Charles has put together. He does a fantastic job. You've even done some custom builds for other people too.
Yes. I've done custom builds for our boss and then for a few of our other coworkers. And I've also done a few custom builds for people outside the company. It depends on what you need. If you're into gaming, then you give me your price point and then say what you're doing, and then I can spec out a build the way you need it and everything. And there's no hidden fees or anything behind that. It's just what you need for that build, and that's what you get.
Because it's actually something that's always impressed me is, as a company, we don't individuals, employees don't make commission and stuff like that. So when we sell you something or make a recommendation for a PC, it's because we believe this is the best thing for you, not because we're making extra markup on it or anything like that. It's because it's what's best.
Yeah. And we do a lot of research into a lot of the things that we do, and one of the big things that we take very seriously as a company is security. That's part of what caused us to segue into doing the CCTV work and the access control and the locksmith work.
Yep.
And we actually just became partners not that long ago with a company called Novafor that has been huge for us in protecting us against email phishing campaigns. And there's so much bad email out there, and it's the primary way that bad actors are introducing malware into networks.
Yep.
So we saw that as a huge problem, and went and partnered with this company, and they basically they simulate phishing attempts. We've made a lot of progress going from 20 and 30% click rates on some of that stuff to way below.
Yeah, I can remember when I was working here before we actually had KnowBe4 and we started doing that phishing stuff. That, like, it wouldn't be an unusual thing for at least once a week. So I'd get a call from an employee saying, "Hey, is it okay if I open this email?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, let me see what it is." Were you expecting this email from somebody? And they're like, "Oh well, no. They're offering me 20% off on socks or chocolate or something." I'm like, well, that sounds like they're trying to scam you or get some sort of information out of you. Why do you want to open that? Well, they say it's really important. And I'm like, it's not. Just delete it and move on. And it's just that type of behavior that, like, hey, somebody sent me an email, it must be important. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think we've gone over our records of how often our firewall blocks emails and stuff like that, and we don't get the majority of emails sent to us because most of them are garbage.
Something like 98% of all emails that come into our system are blocked by our system.
Yeah.
It's enormous. And when you factor in just the number of the thousands of emails that is that are either some form of spam or malicious message is insane. Really, the amount of it that's out there. And if you don't protect you train your users to protect your network and understand the vulnerability that they're in with that, you're sitting duck. It's a really critical thing.
Yeah, I don't think some people realize, especially with small businesses, how much phishing attempts and malware can affect a small business, because unlike larger companies, you do have all that protection on your firewall and everything. But with a small business, some of them don't care about that.
Say, even I know 2 clients that I know since I've worked here became our clients because they received an email, they opened it in-house, knowing not where it was from, and it was either a BitLocker or some sort of ransomware or phishing attempt that got a hold of either their email, or in one case it actually encrypted a bunch of files on their network because they were not aware that email would cause that.
I was actually reading just the other day in a news article that was talking about how our bad actors are targeting small businesses more and more because the larger businesses have been able to finally catch up with the times and get all of their systems in place to protect their network, and the small businesses who are lagging behind currently. So they're open to them, and so they've been really going after small businesses lately because they find them to be easy targets.
Yeah, very easy targets, and it costs small businesses like millions of dollars each time if they get attacked.
I think I saw something like $452 or something like that per individual record that's taken, which is just insane with the amount of damage that can do. And that KnowBe4 service has been fantastic.
Yeah. And I think that actually lets us segue into another service that we offer, because if somebody does take your information and stuff ransom, really the best way to combat that is to make sure that we have an offsite backup, which is a service that we offer.
We do. It's called BancVault. It's a really, really cool product. So we have it's a small lightweight agent that gets installed on your machine, and you set up your backup set, and it backs it up to a offsite location, and then we replicate that out to our data centers here in Northwest Oklahoma to make sure that the data stays safe, and that nothing can happen to it. And a lot of places don't account for any form of disaster recovery or ransomware attacks with backups.
Yeah.
And it's one of those real easy things to kind of overlook and just you think you don't need it. There's actually a large number of companies. I've actually talked with people where companies are saying, well, I don't need to do a backup. Well, why? Why would you ever not need to do a backup? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who exclude them completely.
It's one of those things that I think nobody ever thinks about. You know what I mean? Like, why do I need that? And then you come to work one day and then your server, your information's down, or your computer's even down, and you can't get it back up. You're closing your doors that day and losing how many customers?
Well, how many times have we had people accidentally delete a file?
True. Like,
I mean, it's easy to do. You hit the delete button, or you right click and accidentally hit delete. And without a backup, the file's gone, especially if you're on a file share.
I was going to say, even for us, I've come into work one day and then the server, it's done. There's no way to recover that data. And luckily we had a backup so that I could get a server back up running, but otherwise we were done. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that you never really consider until you need it.
Well, and there's a couple of I know of, I was reading the other day, there are 3 companies that completely basically ceased to exist on 9/11 because they either A, didn't have a disaster recovery backup solution, or B, their disaster recovery backup solution was in the other tower.
Yeah.
So all of their data was gone
Yeah.
in one day by not planning for disaster.
And what I think most people don't know about Bank Vault either is that it is in the U.S. and it's in Oklahoma. Like, we back it up locally, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, halfway across the world or anything. So if your business goes down or something, we can actually go grab a physical copy of your backup and bring it to you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which, I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places where, you lose your internet connection and you don't get your backup. And in a major disaster recovery situation, you might not have internet.
Yeah.
And
Especially being in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
since we are in Tornado Alley. Like,
Mhm.
you never know when that will happen.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things that small businesses problem have is small businesses usually only have one server running, AD and different rules like that. If they're backing that server up and then that server goes bad, how are they going to download their backup and what are they going to put it on? They don't have
Yeah.
other servers or other things to take place of that role. So they do need somebody to drive out there and physically set it up.
Absolutely, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And by having a service team, I don't think there's very many of our clients at all that we wouldn't be able to provide them with a physical copy of their backup within that same day. Within 24 hours, we could have them back up and running,
Yeah.
which is, just really impressive for the industry. So, and that's something that you've really got to think about. Is how long is it going to take in the event of a disaster to get everything back up and running? Because time's money.
Oh, yeah.
Could you really survive with your business being down for, 24, 48, 36 hours?
Highly doubt it. I know
It's-
many businesses that call us, especially with our eConnect service, and once they lose internet for a brief time, that they start calling us because they can't function properly.
Speaking of eConnect, that's a great introduction to the fact that we are a wireless ISP and we provide internet service to a lot of different clients.
And we provide it at all our sister locations for our banks.
Mhm.
And I know you did does our VPN run on the eConnect wireless?
Some of the VPNs that we do, are set up. Some other devices and stuff that we set up with the eConnect VPN, and we even have a few external clients that utilize the VPN connection.
So there's a lot of people who they feel like their only solution to internet service is satellite internet service, and anyone who has used satellite internet service will tell you the same story that that's just it's not good.
No.
It's better than nothing, but it's not good.
Yeah.
And just because of latency issues, and that's something that we don't have as big of a problem with is the latency with our system. This is all wireless. We're able to broadcast. We've got towers in a couple of different locations that broadcast our internet service down to an antenna that we can put on your home. So assuming you're able to get that connection up with our main tower, we're able to get you eConnect service.
Yeah, and I believe the primary locations that we offer that services are Alva, Hopeton, Woodward. I might be wrong, but I think might have some in Winoka.
I'm not real sure. We might have to get Tim on sometime to talk about our eConnect. Tim or
we'll have
Tom.
to,
Either one would be great to sit down and talk with us about eConnect.
Yeah, we can do that.
But they have done, off of that same sort of technology, we've done some pretty cool things that even were outside of the scope of just providing internet access. We had a client who had, I believe it was 5 different locations, and they had 5 different internet connections going to all of those, and none of them were able to get a very good connection other than their main office. And they were trying to communicate back to a server at that main office over these slow internet connections, and it was just grueling for them. And so we came up with a solution that we can implement this wireless technology that we've used for our internet service and link all of those sites together and basically make it like they're all in the same building and share a high-speed internet connection at their main office. So where they were getting 1 or 2 megs connections at the remote offices, they shared a 50 meg connection at the central office, plus had 300 meg connections between each site to access the server.
Yeah.
And it really increased their productivity, was able to just smooth out their operations, and that was a really, really cool project that we were able to work on and provide to them.
And we do work on many projects. I know you worked on smart cards and or digital signage recently.
Yeah, I guess we can cover some digital signage first. Basically, what we have in-house, it allows from a television or any sort of monitor, all you really need is a Raspberry Pi and some software that allows you to stream an image, a slideshow essentially, that does video. You can even link URLs and websites and stuff into this, and it allows you to play that content to TVs or monitors, anything that you want. The primary what we use this is for advertising and stuff like that. The good qualities of it is one central location to update and manage all players. Players can be divided in any category using any sort of playlists, and it works offline even to where it'll push the packages when it has internet connection, and then when it loses internet connection, it'll still play. And you can even schedule for holidays and stuff.
Which is great because it means that there's very little network bandwidth problems with it.
Right.
And you're not constantly having to push that from that central location. It's pushed to it, and it's playing locally on the player with no bandwidth utilization, which is fantastic.
It's a very economical connection and stuff. Use very little bandwidth, and the main thing that I've seen is clients have used it to replace, like, they usually have a device that I think they paid a few $1,000s for that fits on the back of a television, and then they connect to that web portal, and then they update it. Then they have 3 or 4 more that they have to log in, connect, update, log in, connect, update. And this is a cheaper and a better solution, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it would take a lot of time to go from each individual. We've got 20-something different monitors.
Yeah, I think we have
throughout our locations that are on this system. And to have to go to 20 different locations to do these updates would take forever.
Yeah.
But putting it onto one system where I can update it from one web portal all at once and just push that out everywhere is a huge time saver.
Yeah. And we even set it up to where you can update it from a different network. You don't have to be on the same local network. We can set it up to where you just log into a portal that's available on the web.
And we've done this for a couple of people.
Yeah, I think we have 3 clients on it now.
So it's a really cool thing. You know, any place that you go into now that's on the leading edge of technology and that's just really moving forward in their business, you see this digital signage. I think the local movie theater here has it. I've seen it. You know, the bank that we're associated with has it.
I've seen schools that have
schools
it.
that are utilizing it. You see it in airports. I mean, it's just all over the place. A lot of your fast food restaurants now are using it for their menu boards. You see it in McDonald's and Taco Bell were 2 big ones that I know of that have rolled it out. I'm sure there's a lot more. So you're seeing this kind of technology everywhere, and it's a really cool product offering that we have.
Yeah, and I think the other thing you mentioned is our smart card implementation.
Yep.
The main thing that I think brought that about is operating in-house is we require, and I think it's best standard practice generally for all IT, is to have a password between like about 14 characters long, is I think the recommended. Well, end users don't necessarily like that very much, especially when you couple that with, you got to change your password every few months and things like that.
Well, I mean, and recommended on that's every, I think, 30 days.
See, and so that
was the last thing I read.
It is a struggle for a lot of people to remember that. I mean, even now we get calls all the time. But what we started doing is implementing smart cards, which basically allows a certificate and use dual authentication to allow people to log into computers. And what that's allowed us to do in-house is to use a certificate and a PIN associated with it, which we can keep from anywhere between 4 to however many characters you want. And they don't have to remember a 14-character password. The PIN can be simpler, and you don't have to change it as frequently because you have the dual authentication with having a physical card and the computer and the login and the PIN. So just because somebody knows your PIN doesn't mean they can log in using the smart card because they also have to have the card. Just because you have the card doesn't mean you can log in because you also have to have a PIN. And I think talking to people that we've implemented to, they've enjoyed it a lot more.
Oh, it's so much easier than trying to remember the password. We're able to issue out to people with those smart cards. We're able to issue out in a lot of cases, 50-character long random strings that it would be almost impossible to crack that password. It makes the system incredibly secure.
Yeah. I love the beauty of our smart cards. Being a military brat myself, I've seen it, with my dad and everything, because they have smart cards. Well, they call them CAT cards, but it was pretty much the same process. You plug it in the keyboard and he punched in his PIN and he got on. But the security is on pretty much the same level, and it's so much easier than remembering a long password, like they said. Yeah.
Yeah, and you could actually set up an individual smart card to use multiple accounts and stuff like that. And honestly, it's not terribly expensive either. I think we have the implementation to around $100 a user, if not less in a lot of situations. I think it's time to talk about something that is a little bit more on the financial side of BancCentral Financial Services, is our ACH payments that we can offer in-house and transactions. And I'll let Charles talk about that since I know very little.
Well, I am the primary one that we provide a service for our sister location called eCorp, which is pretty much I guess, not a refined version, but a bigger version of iBank itself, where any business that wants eCorp, it allows you to have, multiple accounts on it, and then you can transfer between them, do ACH, do payrolls, and we provide a merchant capture service also, to where if a company has checks and everything, you can, scan those checks on site and everything, so you don't have to go all the way to your local branch or anything. It's pretty much mobile capture on a bigger scale is what it is. And it gets sent here, and we have people that, check the checks and everything and make sure they're all good, and then it gets all deposited into the correct accounts. Yeah. And we provide eCorp to, I believe we have over 80 clients and probably maybe 30, 35 merchant capture clients. But a lot of them love the service and everything, and it's very simple to use. And we also provide the security for when they log in and everything. They use a token system also, so it's a two-way authentication. So, you don't have to remember a password. You just have to remember a 4-digit PIN and everything. And that makes the security a lot easier. Of course, it makes a hassle when you got a user that accidentally swaps a token with their coworker, and they realize that they can't log in, but they realize the mistake after a while. But some days it happens.
I think the best part I'm hearing about that is the fact that I don't have to go to the bank to conduct bank business.
That is correct.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, do I have to have an account with BCNA in order to utilize these services, or?
Yes, you would at least have some kind of account. You would have to do some kind of business with BCNA, but
not necessarily your primary account.
That is correct, because you can set up an account here and have money there, and pretty much you would set up your transfers to be like, hey, I need to transfer this money to that bank or pull money from that bank. It just all depends on how you want it all set up, and we customize it per business, so it's how you want it, pretty much.
Well, and moving to automated payroll that's not writing and cutting checks and signing every one of them, printing every one of them, is going to that. And you mentioned that you can do payroll with that, which is really, really cool.
Yes.
So even at the very least, you could have your payroll account with BCNA, and that allows you to move your payroll monies into that, and then help your employees out of it.
With payroll itself, it all depends on, if your employees all bank with BancCentral, then, once you have payroll and you do it that day, it is same day. Of course, if you bank with someone else, it all depends on how your bank works. It may take 1 or 2 days to process, but that's, how Federal Reserve works and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, and I can receive payments through that as well, correct? Like an ACH payment?
Yes, that is correct.
So if I had someone that had a recurring bill due to my business, or I could set that up? Or...
Yeah, you can do that.
So lots of cool things that we can do with eCorp as well.
Yes. And looking at the time, I can tell we should probably cut it here today.
I think we've definitely taken up enough of the people's time.
Yeah.
Probably. It was wonderful having you all here today.
It was great. It was great doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are inviting me on our first broadcasting.
I know. It's gonna. Hopefully, it'll be one of many more.
Yes. And hopefully you hear from us next week. We will be probably talking about cybersecurity and KnowBe4, I believe. Primarily KnowBe4, since we did start a partnership with them fairly recently.
And we really love that product. It's been a really cool product that we've got to start with.
Yes, very much.
So we're definitely looking forward to talking about that. And we've got a lot of great content lined up going forward. We talked about trying to get Brad on to talk about the CCTV work we've done. We intend to start reviewing some of the products that we're opening. Just a lot of great content, I think, coming down the line that we hope to get out.
And if you are following us on like Facebook or Twitter, you'll notice I have been posting recently more or less about our Know Before campaign and everything. So,
So if you have a problem with it, it's this guy.
hey, now calm
Well,
down there. But if you want, you can follow us on our social medias, because for our Facebook, we will be talking about Know Before currently, and on Twitter. And you can also follow our sister location for BancCentral. Over there, I will be posting like when, services go down and everything, with how rules work and everything. That's where I will post it. So if you have iBank or eCorp, that's what you will notice, like stuff goes down. That will be me.
make sure
on
you
there.
keep up on that. Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely like and follow us.
Yes, very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.